Yeah.
Wa alaikum salam, Brother Muhammad, and I hope you, and I certainly am convinced that you and the other brothers have had a spiritually fulfilling Ramadan, rejuvenated, and at least it's given us a time to reminiscence and take, retrospect. We don't, for example, celebrate Eid in the way of the mushrikeen and the pagans or those who are non-believers. But these events and these holy and auspicious days and months should be moments of reflection. And as you quite correctly pointed out, there has been a genocide. There's no doubt that there is a genocide that has been taking place in Gaza. You mentioned, loosely speaking, Al Shifa Hospital. Well, there were eyewitness testimonies that had come out, which were apparently severely attempted to be debunked by the Western media at Al Shifa Hospital about the mass graves, about, for example, eyewitness testimony of Israeli soldiers raping, in certain instances, Palestinian women. And there was an attempt, and I see that even now, that when this is brought up in mainstream Western media, there are attempts to suggest that this is a fabrication. But knowing full well that rape has been endemic, in fact, the noted Palestinian academic Ramzi Baroud, maybe someone that you could chat to in the future, he articles and writes for the Palestine Chronicle, has reported for decades that rape has been systematic amongst Israeli soldiers on the West Bank. Sexual abuse of Palestinian women by Israeli soldiers has been endemic, not just on the West Bank, and certainly not only under Gaza, when before 2005, literally you had Israeli soldiers and settlers in that particular area physically, but even in the detention centers where women and children are kept under administrative detention, Israeli soldiers engage in rape and sexual abuse and sexual exploitation of Palestinian women. So it's a kind of an inversion of reality, as we've mentioned now over the past couple of months, when the only allegations of rape that have been made have been falsely imputed to Hamas, which has now been shown to be a fabrication. I mean, I think we dealt with this at length, I think, in one of our previous shows in just prior to Ramadan, where we focused on the New York Times article, Screams Without Words, that infamous article by Jeffrey Gettleman, Anat Schwartz, and I can't recall who the third writer is, which has been shown to be a total fabrication and a hoax. But the reality of the situation is that the reverse, which is indeed happening, and you've got eyewitness testimonies and reports, are totally denied. And so I want to take the brothers to a recent incident. You know, people are now talking about Iran. They're now talking about the bombing of the Damascus, the annex at the consulate, and then of course the fireworks display by Iran, and that's kind of been in the news. And of course, just a couple of weeks prior to that, you had the aid workers that were white, European, and that created a kind of a massive stink in Western media because these were Europeans. But on a daily basis, when, for example, Palestinians are killed, you don't even, it's now becoming the new normal. I'll give you one example, and this has been reported in CNN, which is now also coming to the fore, that look, there's things that are out there that cannot be hidden away. And that is that on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, the 16th of April, at least 13 people were killed, murdered, including 7 children, by a strike on Gaza's Al-Maghazi refugee camp. And what the situation is, there was a graphic video. This was obtained exclusively by CNN from the eyewitness. It shows several casualties on the floor. There's children, there's blood streaming. Those 13 people are just those who were killed, but there were dozens more that were injured. There was a table that was covered in dust that's seen amongst the dead bodies. One of the reporters who reported to CNN stated that he heard an explosion about 20 to 4 in the afternoon, 30 or 40 meters away from him, and immediately walked to see what happened. And when he walked there, and you can see the censored images that are shown on CNN and Al Jazeera, he found dead bodies all over. There were people screaming, kids screaming. The footage that was shot for CNN from inside the Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital, it shows a continuous flow of casualties and injured people being ushered in, as the entire emergency room is crowded with patients. There's several wounded children. They're crying on the floor. You see members that are crowding over the loved ones. They're in a state of panic. They are kissing them. They are dead. They're holding them. They're sobbing onto them. There are pictures and images of individuals carrying white body bags, young boys, young children, people screaming. These are civilians. They're not army. They're not fighters. They're not militants or militias. These are little children. And there was one particular video that was quite moving. It showed a man holding a little girl's dead body to another man. Both these men were crying. They were crying. And as they were crying, they were reciting Quranic verses. And the man basically is seen to take the child's body on the ground, covers her jacket, and tells CNN that this is indeed his daughter. She's a 9-year-old. And a strike hits them whilst they were all playing on the street. Now, all these people were playing on the street. CNN, just yesterday, this incident happened on the 16th. On the 17th, they contacted the IDF for comment, but they've not received a response. So here's the particular piece. I'm going to try and share the screen because whilst the world talks about what's going on and some of the issues that are basically, I'm going to try and present a screen here from CNN and see if this is basically showing share screen. Let's see if I can get this. The Al-Maghazi refugee camp. I think this is clear. Can you see this now? Is this clear, Brother Muhammad? 13 children killed. This is the article. This is on Tuesday, the 16th of April. And it hasn't made it's on CNN, but it's been reduced to small, insignificant coverage. It hasn't reached the kind of global status that occurred when, in fact, those aid workers were killed a couple of weeks ago. Then this was on the 15th of April. This is on Monday. We're talking about this week. You know, you can't even keep up with the murders that are taking place. 15 more bodies recovered from Al-Shifa hospital area after Israel's military withdrawal. So this was basically discovered. This is on Monday. We read, this is a quick read. 15 bodies were recovered on Monday from around Al-Shifa hospital following the withdrawal of the Israeli military from the area. This is this Monday. Health workers and residents have been searching and digging what they believe, as you clearly pointed out earlier, are mass graves and looking for their loved ones after Israeli forces killed hundreds of Palestinians and they left their bodies to decompose during their 2-week siege of the complex. We were called today to extract the bodies that are buried inside the Al-Shifa Medical Hospital. We came here at 9 a.m. and excavated 15 bodies. Hundreds of bodies have been recovered from the hospital complex. Video filmed by CNN. Why I'm showing CNN? Because for the West and for a lot of these Western-based individuals, they refuse to take anything from Al Jazeera, from some of these other reports. So this is what CNN says. Video filmed by CNN showed medical workers, some wearing UN-marked vests, walking around sites of mound, digging up bodies. White body bags can be seen lying on the excavation site, some marked with text reading unidentified body, and some with names with names of people on them. And in certain instances, they even mark their names on their hands, on their bodies, because sometimes the hands are blown up, so they don't have anything. CNN again has reached out to the Israeli Defense Force for comment, but has not received a response, just similar to the other one. Walid al-Layla told CNN he has been searching for his mother since the Israeli siege ended on April 1st. On Monday, he found her body. I identified her from specific markings on her feet and hands because she was injured when her toe and finger were both amputated. She said that her mother was dehydrated, had signs of malnutrition. Disturbing videos showing Abu Layla opening a white body bag, revealing his mother's decomposed body. The hospital was blocked from all sides and her body scattered all over, squashed on the streets from the tank rails. When I got a call to come check the unidentified body, I opened a bag that was marked unidentified and immediately found my mother's decomposed body. The IDF has claimed hundreds of terrorists were killed or captured during the 2-week siege, but has not provided any form of evidence. Now, here's the point. You remember in October last year where there was the shooting down, or the missile attack on that hospital. What was that hospital's name? The Al Ahli Hospital. We remember that? The strike on the Al Ahli Hospital. And the whole world had an uproar. And they were questioning, how is it that Israel can basically attack a hospital? That was the initial talk. And then there was a massive propaganda campaign by some of these mainstream outlets to suggest that, look, this was possibly an attack by Islamic Jihad. Israel would never attack a hospital. They would never go and bomb a hospital. Well, look at the reality now. Close to 36, 37, 38, 39 hospitals. In fact, virtually every single hospital is literally destroyed in Gaza. Who destroyed it? Israel. And not only are we talking about bombings, we're now talking about open shooting. I mean, when you have a situation where there are track marks that are basically seen when these bodies are being dug up, and you can see track marks on them, or unidentified bodies, it's not only that they were murdered and butchered and shot dead in cold blood, but over and above that, what you have is a situation that they then go and they essentially, when these bodies were being exhumed from these mass graves at Al-Shifa Hospital after the Israeli siege, they found them with track marks on them, with the tank marks on them. So it basically goes to show that essentially these individuals, this is essentially deliberate killing, deliberate mass murder. I mean, you can't make this up at all at any given juncture in relation to what's happening. So what I'm saying is this, is that we've now gone, and for those out there who are listening, we've now gone beyond the rhetoric, of Israel bombing hospitals from the top, from the sky, and this is collateral damage, and yes, this is war, this is casualties, as the excuses have been made. We now have a situation, and it was always the case, except it was far more subdued in terms of how it was being presented, and the Israeli military and the IDF were far more cautious in terms of how the narrative was going out. But now we've reached a stage where they're totally just shameless. They will shoot them dead, like the Flower Massacre. You know, up to maybe a couple of weeks back, people were saying, well, these people died in a stampede and it's sad, it's a tragedy. This is war, it's a real tragedy. I'm sorry, that's rubbish. Whoever you are, that's rubbish. It's not a tragedy. A tragedy is when there's a natural disaster, when there's a flood, when there's an earthquake, when there's a tornado, when people are dying due to some form of catastrophe, when someone goes and swims in the ocean and drowns. Yes, that's a tragedy. That's sad. That is something that is unfortunate. Look at the terminology that you use. This is not a tragedy. This is not unfortunate what is happening. This is not terrible what is happening. This is not you don't have to have a pity for what is happening. Oh, shame. This is cold-blooded mass murder, and we need to call it out for what it is: cold-blooded mass murder. Now, I gave you the example of the Maghazi refugee camp, and the IDF has basically stated that, look, they were contacted by CNN and many other major media stations, including Al Jazeera, but I haven't shown you the Al Jazeera report, which is more graphic, and there's been no response. They'll probably say in a couple of days that they're going to engage in an investigation. How interesting, because Just a couple of months back, and you know, there are so many incidents that happen, we keep forgetting. Just a couple of months back, you have a situation where here, look at this, Al-Maghazi refugee camp. And what data are we looking at? We made a regrettable mistake, says Israel, after killing 86 Palestinians in a refugee camp. Can you see that? And what date is that? That is December 29th, 2023. What happened? And what was a mistake? I mean, what was how when you bomb a refugee camp, you target a refugee camp, like when they were bombing this global outrage of this aid workers. There were three convoys. There was one convoy, second convoy, third convoy. So they bombed the first convoy, deliberately targeted, bombed the person who got killed. What was Israel's response? Well, it was a mistake. A couple of minutes down the line, the second convoy, they bombed that. They made a mistake. A couple of minutes later, third convoy, they bombed that. We made a mistake. And beyond that, these aid workers, the World Central Kitchen, and there's a lot to be said about the World Central Kitchen. We can't go into detail now. But the irony is that they gave the IDF the coordinates. So my question is, what was the mistake? Was a mistake now that they thought that this was Hamas? Was a mistake that, look, they were targeting another target and they accidentally targeted this? But how could that be when these targets were consecutively and at different time periods and intervals? So are we saying there are three different mistakes? And coming back to this, forget that. If you look at the incident that happened just 2 days ago, the bombing of the Maghazi refugee camp, children were playing and they were struck and murdered. What was the excuse there? What about what happened on December 29th? We made a regrettable mistake. This is the Middle East Monitor. And look at what they say here. Let's go through this article because we kind of forget about these incidents. Israel has characterized the killing of 86 Palestinians in Gaza as a regrettable mistake. The massacre, which took place on Christmas Eve, was a result of incorrect munition, whilst acknowledging that it should not have happened. Now, here's the point. What is the incorrect ammunition? I find it difficult. What is the correct munition to use? What is the incorrect munition to use? The military official that the raid employed munitions unsuitable for densely populated refugee camps. The type of munition did not match the nature of the attack, causing extensive collateral damage which could have been avoided. Israel's apparent regret at killing 86 people is in stark contrast to the massacre of 21,000 Palestinians in its so-called targeting killing. Palestinians are being killed at a higher rate by the Israelis in their so-called targeted bombing campaign than Brits killed by Nazi Germany during 8 months of indiscriminate bombing. Imagine that. Imagine that your kill rate is higher than the kill rate at Rwanda, that the kill rate is higher than the kill rate of Nazi Germany when they were bombing cities in London and other surrounding areas, that the number of children died in Gaza in the last 6 months, in the last 4 months, let's assume 4 months from October 7th, is more than the kill rate and the number of children that were murdered in Bosnia during the Yugoslav genocide in Srebrenica. More children who were killed in Gaza now than were killed during the Yugoslavian genocide. So this begs a question. If we see this happening, what's our particular response? What's our response? If you look at the statistics, more than 40,000 civilians were killed by the German bombing during the war, almost half of them in London, where more than 1 million houses were destroyed. Under the current rate of death, Israelis will have killed 80,000 if the military operation were to last 8 months. Israel has routinely utilized bombs in the densely packed Gaza Strip, despite the heightened risk of civilian casualties. According to U.S. intelligence assessment, nearly half of the Israeli munitions used on Gaza were unguided dumb bombs known for their lower accuracy and increased potential for causing harm. Now, when the question, this guy is now fired. This nutcase, you remember Elon Levy? He's fired. He's no longer the Israeli spokesman. He was too pro-Israeli for Israel himself. He was too pro-Israeli. But in an interview, he rejected repeated requests for an apology for the lives in Maghazi. He confirmed that the Israeli army admitted using the wrong ammunition, but did not specify its type. Levi defended the killing, saying it's an inevitable consequence of war. I mean, how smug, what a bastard can you get to make these kind of allegations? The Maghazi camp strike marked one of the deadliest incidents in the ongoing war on Gaza. But what they failed to realize, what about the Jabalia refugee camp? What about the attack on Maghazi just about a couple of weeks before the 29th of December? What about the attack at the Jabalia refugee camp when they were targeting so-called one Hamas individual, as they claim, to murder close to 50 or 60 Palestinians? Was that individual a human shield for all those particular civilians? So the arguments don't make particular sense. But here is where it gets even far more nastier and far more dirtier in terms of what you see. You see, just a couple of weeks back, it's been going on for some time, but recently, Democracy Now! Has the fantastic program Democracy Now! I urge viewers to have a look at it. It's run by Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez. They interviewed an individual by the name of Yuval Abraham. He's an Israeli journalist who broke a particular story after speaking with members of the Israeli military and the Israeli Defense Force, who themselves were now coming out, and they were shocked about the atrocities that were being committed and the bombing policy of the Israeli military, where entire families were being wiped out inside their houses. Last year, this individual by the name of Yuval Abraham, he's a writer for the Israeli publications. It's a publication that you can get. It's called Plus 972 and Local Call. So it's a kind of a news magazine. I'll put this up on the screen shortly. What it does is that it exposes how the Israeli military have in fact developed an artificial intelligence program known as Lavender to develop a kill list in Gaza that includes as many as 40,000 Palestinians who were targeted for assassination with little human oversight. There was a second artificial intelligence system known as Where's Daddy? You may have heard of this because one or two journalists have brought this up. Not many. It's not too popular. It hasn't been mentioned too often, but it's an AI system known as Where's Daddy, where it tracks Palestinians on the kill list, and it's purposely designed to help Israel target the individuals, but not just at any time when they're walking on the street or walking in the desert or walking in isolation. It's to target the individuals specifically when they were at home at night with their families. This journalist by the name of Yuval Abraham, who's written on this particular topic, last year, I think it may have been in November, the latter part of November, I believe the latter part of November, he also exposed Israel for using an artificial intelligence system called the Gospel. It's called the Gospel. Look at the terms. And that was a type of AI that was used intentionally to destroy civilian infrastructure, including the apartment complexes, universities, and banks, in order, in an effort to exert civil pressure on Hamas. I may add, people, we don't think about this, but there's no more schools in Gaza. There's no more banks in Gaza. There's no universities in Gaza. Every single hospital has been destroyed by Israel. And this is being done with the utilization of Israel of these artificial intelligence military systems, which in reality are a danger to humanity, because what it does, what this AI-based kind of warfare does, is that it allows people to escape accountability. So you've got now three kind of known systems. For the viewers out there, listen to this, and you can type this on Google so you can find it. There's one AI which is called the gospel. That's what it's called. They call it the gospel. And that was used to destroy apartments, hospitals, universities, banks, even ordinary shopping centers, for that particular matter. The second one was an artificial intelligence system known as Lavender, that targets individuals. And then the third one is something called Where's Daddy? Can you think about it? You know why they use it, why they call it Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? Where does that name come from? Because when children at home, when they want to find out where their daddy is, what do they ask their mom? Where's Daddy? Where's Daddy? Where's Mommy? So this artificial intelligence system is called Where's Daddy. And why is it called Where's Daddy? Because where is Daddy? Because these individuals who are targeted are themselves fathers in households with large families. And they make sure that these AI systems are purposely designed to track them, track every single movement. They may be in a car. They may be walking from point A to point B. They may be walking on a road. But they make sure that it's only when they arrive home at night and now they are with their families, Where's Daddy comes into place, and then they destroy them and hit them hard. So Yuval Abraham did a fantastic report on this. I'll share it now. It's a very long piece, I think about 8,000 or 9,000 words, and it's divided into different steps and different. He exposes how each step of this AI system represents a kind of a process in a highly automated way in which the military marks target individuals since October.